ESPIRITU.
And I'm Angel Ryan Galang.
And we are about to discuss the Unit 2 of Chapter 3, The Reasons and Impartiality. The Greek philosopher Aristotle regarded that the human beings have a rational soul that makes us different from plants and animals. Now, remember this, guys. According to Aristotle, there are 3 types of soul. Number 1, the vegetative soul, which plants, trees, and flowers have. Another thing is the sensitive soul. It allows animals to sense or to feel. And the last soul is the rational soul. Now, tayong mga tao, we have all these types of soul. The vegetative, the sensitive, and the rational soul. Vegetative because we are growing. And the sensitive soul allows us to feel or to perceive. And finally, the rational soul. It allows us to think or to reason out. That's why we have to remember these 3 types of soul. The vegetative, the sensitive, and the rational soul. Rationality is the ability for logical thought with the ability to reason towards sound conclusion based on facts and evidence, draw inferences from situation and circumstances, and make sound well-reasoned judgment based on factual information. Earlier, I said that plants and animals do not have the rational soul. Only human beings have this rational soul. Meaning, itong plants and animals, wala silang rationality just like us. They cannot reason out. Plants and animals are incapable of complex reasoning and introspection, much more so in distinguishing good from bad and right from wrong. We should always remember, guys, that our action should be guided by our reasons. Because if our action will not be guided by our reason, magkakaroon ng problema or magiging palpak yung ating actions. A person is called rational or reasonable when his beliefs and action conform to the dictates of those principles of morality, or when he is subjectively guided by them. Reasons is also identified with the capacity that enables us to identify reasons, the particular considerations that counts in favor of belief or action. Since human beings are rational or ration, they have free will to strive for perfection. Now, since human beings are rational, we as human, we have the free will to strive to perfection. We want to be perfect, right? As much as possible, we want everything in our life to be perfect. We're studying because we want to be perfect. We are practicing because somehow we want to be perfect, right? Walang tao na gustong laging palpak or sumasablay. Kasi as much as possible, we want to be perfect or at least be perfect, right? Now, by achieving this fulfillment and well-rounded development, they would somehow attain happiness. What will make us happy? Will it be money? Will it be something or someone? Will it be our family? Now, another goal that ethics has for us is to be happy. And it suggests that in order for us to be happy, we must live an ethical life. It follows that in order to be ethical, an individual should decide on action that properly expresses rationality. Hindi pwedeng emotions lang natin yung nag-guide sa atin, but our rationality as well. Moral judgment must be backed by the best arguments or reason out there, not only good reasons or better judgment. Our decision must be guided as much as possible by reasons. Always remember that we, as human beings, have the capacity to rationalize. Human beings have the emotions, and sometimes our emotions affect our actions. Whether when we are sad, whether when we are angry or happy, it affects our action. Sabi nga 'di ba, never make a decision when we are in our height of emotions. Kasi the quality of the decision that you have or the quality of the action that you will be doing will be so much affected, especially when you allow your emotions to overcome your reasoning. Morality requires impartiality. With regards to those moral agents affected a violation of moral rule, morality requires the impartial consideration of each individual's interests. So, what is impartiality?
Okay. Impartiality, or what you call fair-mindedness, is a principle of justice holding that decisions should be based on objective criteria rather than on the basis of bias, self-interest, prejudice, or preparing the benefit to one person over another for improper reasons. In layman's term, lagi nating naririnig na ang impartiality, dapat na yan maging impartial tayo. Lagi natin naririnig, walang kinikilingan, walang pinoprotektahan, serbisyong totoo lang, sabi sa balita. That make us impartial. When coming to decisions, we must be impartial. Why? Bakit nga ba? Because hindi pwedeng may pinapanigan in order for us to arrive the moral judgment. Dapat impartial. We have to weigh things. We need to uphold the principle of justice. Dapat walang bias. So we will not preparing the benefit of one person over the expense of another person. According to Rachel's year 2018, the minimum conception of morality is the effort to guide one's conduct by reasons for doing while giving equal weight to the interests of each individual affected by one's decision. So, our conduct must be guided by our reasons. Not just reasons, but the best reasons that we could have. We should also give way to the interests of the other people. Dapat in coming up to decisions, we should also consider the others, what they feel or what it will affect to them. 7 steps in moral decision. Number 1, gather the facts. Number 2, determine the ethical issues. Number 3, determine the principle which have bearing in the situation. Number 4, list the alternatives. Number 5, compare the alternatives with the principles. Number 6, weigh the consequences. And last, make a decision. Situation. Johnny confessed to Father Santino that he raped 7 minor girls 10 years ago, when he was still working as a seaman abroad, and he was able to escape criminal liability there because everybody thought that he is already dead when their ship was wrecked in the Pacific Ocean. Meanwhile, he is presently the gardener of Santiago family in Zambales. The Santiago family is a very close to the priest Johnny also mentioned that thought he is already renewed man. There are times that he feels sexually tempted to the youngest daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Santiago. He also asked the priest to not to tell anything to the family and promised the priest that he will keep in touch with him, especially at the times he feels tempted. Now, if you are Father Santino, what would you do? Remember that the sacramental seal of confession in an inviolable quoting Canon 983.1 of the Code of Canon Law, the Catechism states, "It is a crime for a confessor in any what to do, betray, or penitent by word or in any other manner or any reason, and then that breaking the seal of confession may be a reason for him to be excommunicated."
Ibig sabihin, ititiwalag ka ng simbahan kapag ganyan ang ginawa mo because it's a crime. If we have laws sa simbahan, meron silang tinatawag na Code of Canon Law na kung saan ito yung sinusundan nilang batas. And if you are a priest and somebody confessed to you and then isiniwalat mo or isinismis mo yung ikinonfess nila sa'yo, it will be a reason for you to be excommunicated because you've broken the sacramental seal of Code of Canon Law. Nararapat lamang na maparusahan ka according to their law.
And now, applying these 7 steps in moral decision. Number 1, gather the facts. Johnny raped 7 minor girls. He escaped criminal liability. Everybody thought he is dead. He now works as a gardener of a Santiago family, a family who is very close to Father Santino. He feels sexually tempted to the youngest daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Santiago. Number 2, determine the ethical issues. Will Father Santino tell the Santiago family about the confession? Versus, will Father Santino keep the seal of confession? Privileged communication at the expense of endangered the Santiago family. 3, determine the principle which have bearing in the situation. Number 1, the inviolability of the seal of confession. Number 2, the inviolability of the privileged conversation or rules of evidence. So, ito yon yung mga rules of evidence. Next, list the alternatives. Since Father Santino could not break the seal of confession, he may suggest to Johnny to bring the matter to Mr. and Mrs. Santiago. Any? He is already a renewed man as he claims. Or another alternative is for Father Santino to suggest to Johnny to halt as the Santiago family gardener and find another job. Or yet, alternative is for Father Santino to suggest to Johnny to face the liability abroad and to clean his conscience. And next, compare the alternatives with the principles. In many cases, the principles resolve the case. Father Santino may advise Mr. and Mrs. Santiago to put CCTV around their home to secure the family. Or Father Santino to suggest to Mr. and Mrs. Santiago to check their youngest daughter. And next, with the consequences. The consequences are dependent on the alternatives listed. So, nakadepend siya dun sa mga alternative nating nasabi. Since Father Santino could not break the seal of confession, he may suggest to Johnny to bring the matter to Mr. Annie is already renewed as claims. So, ito yung mga list of alternatives natin. Ulit ko lang. Or another alternative is for Father Santino suggest to Johnny to halt as the Santiago family gardener and find another job. And last, make a decision. What would Father Santino's decision? So, ito yung pinaka last natin. Okay.